Ford spent weeks getting ready for a part by talking to Michael J. Fox about his Parkinson's disease. However, insiders say it wasn't just playing. Strange things have been happening to Ford. He is losing his lines. When he's being interviewed, his hands shake. Over 20 years, Calista has been his rock, but now she's making decisions that he can't support. It's heartbreaking what she told her close friends. Harrison Ford was born in a Chicago hospital on July 13, 1942, while World War II was still going on. John William Ford, who went by the name Christopher, was his father. He had tried to be an actress but gave up and landed a job in advertising when money was tight. The actor Dorothy, his mother, had also worked in radio, but her career didn't go anywhere either. They were from different places. Although his dad was Irish Catholic and his mom was Russian Jewish, they didn't force their religion on him or his siblings. Ford later said that they were strongly liberal when they were young. With another boy, Terrence, born in 1945, the family was barely getting by. Harrison waited outside for his dad to get home from work. He was very angry at his bosses. He always remembered those rants at dinner. Early on, he chose that he would never work in an office again. He was looking for something new and free. His first year of school in the 1950s was terrible. People at school called him lazy. Though, the truth was that he didn't know he had dyslexia, finding it hard to read. It was frustrating to write. It felt like everything at school was hard. Sensei was smart. That person could see it, but nobody else could. The kids picked on him because they thought he was weird or nerdy. Ford remained alone. To pass the time, he started playing with toy trains and electronics. In order to relax, he built things with his hands. His only feeling of being seen was in the school radio station. He was the first person whose voice was aired there, and he even worked as a sportscaster in his last year. He was always alone, though. He thought about becoming a forest guard or a coal miner at one point. Any job that didn't require him to engage with people. Now you see how badly school had hurt him. He went to Wisconsin's Ripon College in 1960. Although he took philosophy classes and joined a club, things didn't get better at school. He didn't do anything that involved acting or being in front of people for 3 years. In 1964, though, his last few months at Ripon, he made a terrible choice. He took a drama class not because he loved playing, but because he was shy and wanted to learn how to speak in public. His life was different after that choice. He felt something when he was acting. He thought he had finally found something that fit, but it kept him from focusing on his work, which hurt his grades. It seemed like he spent more time at the theater than teaching. Then he was caught plagiarizing a few days before graduation and was kicked out of school. It shocked Harrison's parents, but he didn't feel bad about it. He had no worries. He then joined the Belfry Players, a summer theater group, right away. Things would start to change in 1964, the year that happened. But things didn't always go well. When he was only 10, in 1952, he almost drowned while water skiing. Though he didn't say much about it, that fear followed him around. He would not do water scenes in movies for years. His skills included flying planes and helicopters, before they felt safe in the water. But while making Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, he taught one of his young co-stars how to swim. Others shouldn't have to live with the fear he had for a long time. He worked any job he could find to help support his family by the early 1960s. He was doing cooking on a boat. He had a job as a bellhop. His first job in Los Angeles was in a small role in the movie Dead Heat on a merry-go-round, which came out in 1964. It was not a big part, but he had been a real bellhop before, so it felt like a strange turn. Ford once said something brave during a fight with a manager. To make shopping delivery look like acting, Tony Curtis only had to make bellhop look like performance. Someday, his confidence would make him famous. That same year, in June 1964, Ford married Mary Marquardt, whom he had met in college. Even though he didn't believe in himself, she did. She didn't give up on him, even after he froze on stage during a terrible college play performance. They had no money, no job, and no time off for their vacation. They brought only $300 with them and drove to Los Angeles. Mary had several jobs to make ends meet while Ford tried out, failed, and tried again. The year 1964, he signed a deal with Columbia Pictures, $150 a week. It sounded like a dream at first, but it turned into a nightmare very quickly. The bosses at the studio told him he'd never make it. People said his name was too fancy, he acted too stiff, and he was too dull to be around. Someone even told him to change everything about his look and cut his hair like Elvis. No, he said. It was only 18 months before they let him go. He was completely crushed. Not trying to be an actor full-time after 1970. He used library books to teach himself how to be a carpenter. A Brazilian singer named Sergio Mendes hired him to build a recording studio for him. Despite not knowing how to do it, he stood on the top holding a book on carpentry. He was making it up as he went. Nevertheless, Mendes liked the way he acted and told others about it. Ford soon had work as a carpenter for well-known people. Joan Didion, Ford Coppola, and Richard Dreyfuss. These jobs assisted his family in staying alive. Despite having a new son named Benjamin in September 1967, they were still poor. Ford wasn't getting roles as an actor. He went to try out for The Graduate, but were turned down. Fixed homes and built furniture for 12 hours a day. Mary did her job too. Being worried filled their small room. In the end, Ford said that becoming a dad changed everything. Now that it wasn't just his dream, every turn down hurt more. It was important for his whole family. Later, in 1973, he was offered a small part in American Graffiti for just $500. For some silly reason, it almost went away. He was blamed for eating too much from the table for craft services. Unfortunately, that little movie became a hit. Ford had asked for $15 more a week during shooting to make up for the money he lost on carpentry work. George Lucas kept thinking about that brave request. Ford later worked at Coppola's studio in 1975, put together cabinets. Lucas was having tryouts for Star Wars, a space movie, and he needed someone to read lines with the players. Coppola talked about Ford. Lucas saw him before and remembered him. After that relaxed reading session, Ford was cast as Han Solo. He was still making a living as a carpenter. Producers hired him to build shelves, maintained relationships with writers such as Joan Didion, and even worked for The Doors director. He had a great reputation for being on time, doing good work, and not complaining. Some people believed him because of it. People kept coming back because they trusted him. Although his work was going well, his personal life was falling apart. It was on the set of Apocalypse Now in 1976 that he met Melissa Matheson, a scriptwriter. There were reports while he was still married to Mary. He and Mary got a divorce in 1979. It wasn't pretty. Years later, in 2004, his divorce from Melissa was one of the most expensive in Hollywood. Since they didn't have a prenup, it cost between $85 million and $118 million. He tried out for the part of the Godfather in 1971, but didn't get it. When it happened, it broke his heart. He eventually found George Lucas and Star Wars, which changed his life forever. After he became famous, Ford kept making things. He worked in his Beverly Hills workshop in pictures from 1984. Architects he worked with used to tell him, "No limit for better." He remembered that. He also used it when he was playing. Every part, every scene, and every second. He meant for it to be better. Harrison Ford had no plans to turn into Han Solo. As an actor, he was only hired in 1977 to help other actors learn lines at Star Wars auditions. A part opened up, but he wasn't even trying out for it. He saw something special in him when he read the lines. That choice changed everything because he cast Ford as Han Solo. Everyone loved Star Wars, and Ford became a star overnight. The most memorable part of Star Wars history came from Ford's own thoughts. A line from the script says that when Princess Leia says, "Love you," Han Solo should reply, "I love you too." That didn't feel right to Ford, though. During shooting, he said, "I know." That one-liner became one of the most famous in movie history. Plus, Harrison Ford said it himself, so you know it was serious. Things behind the scenes weren't always fun, though. Ford was having an affair with Carrie Fisher while the movie was being made in 1976. In contrast, he was 33 years old, married, and had 2 children. Ford helped Fisher get away from some team members who were trying to get her to drink at George Lucas's birthday party. They chose to sit in his car. That's where their first kiss happened. Han and Leia were in front of the camera while they were shooting, and Carrie and Harrison were behind it. Getting closer. The affair wasn't made public for almost 40 years, until Fisher wrote a book about it in 2016. Ford avoided talking about it. However, he did not read the book even though he knew she was going to write about it. Following his fame from Star Wars, Ford quickly moved on to action flicks. His first movie role was in Force 10 from Navarone, a World War II movie released in 1978. It came after a well-known movie from 1961. Even though it took 17 years to make, Ford had to play big parts in action scenes, and it was clear that this was the kind of part that was made for him. There's no proof he was seriously hurt on that set, but the movie showed the body type that would define his career. In The Empire Strikes Back, his quick thought and ability to make things up on the spot added to the magic. Just hours before it was filmed, the scene where Han Solo is frozen and put into carbonite was changed. The director, Irvin Kershner, thought it didn't make sense to freeze Han. Ford had a hand in making the new looks. That let him be more creative. It wasn't enough for him to just read what was on the page. He helped write it by the way he said it. The way he worked like that became a part of him as a performer. There was then a terrible accident in Tunisia in 1981 while shooting Raiders of the Lost Arkansas. Almost everyone on the team and cast got dysentery. Ford was really sick and couldn't stand for long. He stated that he wanted to pass away. An epic fight scene between Indiana Jones and the fighter was supposed to happen, but Ford was too weak to perform it. He ended up shooting the guy instead. The director truly enjoyed it and decided to include it in the movie. It became famous for that short scene. Only by bringing his own food did Spielberg stay healthy. And some water. After the fact, John Rhys Davies said the stories were true. A mistake happened in his costume while they were shooting. After 3 years, in 1984, things got even worse. Hurt his back while shooting Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom in Sri Lanka by riding elephants and doing dangerous stunts. It hurt too much to bear. He went back to the US right away for hip surgery. His ruined discs had to be cut up and taken out by doctors. Lucas said that Ford was barely able to stand, but kept working. Even though action doubles did more of the dangerous parts, Ford still worked harder than most actors. In 1983, he married Melissa Matheson, a screenwriter. E.T. was written by her. The first was a son in 1987, and the second was a girl in 1990. Ford's crazy life became calmer after they got married. In the 1985 movie Witness, he played a detective who was hiding in an Amish town. Unlike his action parts, this was different. However, he was unable to make the ceremony, which was his only Oscar nomination. The Mosquito Coast was being filmed from a boat in Belize. After seeing the Oscars, he said, "It felt like it never really happened." Witness was up for 8 Oscars that year. That Ford wasn't just a movie star. He was also good at serious theater. Although making The Mosquito Coast, 1986, wasn't easy, Ford was really into the part. On set, people said he started to seem crazy because he was so into the role. It was filmed in the middle of a jungle. It was hot, rough, and far away. It happened that they were still shooting at 1:30 in the morning occasionally. The crew found a Mayan site that had never been recorded by chance while setting up shots. That's how they mounted their camera. Ford's need to be perfect slowed things down, and the site was tough. What About the Movie appeared strong. And then came 1989, and Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade was the right way to end a very exciting 10 years. Along with Ford, Sean Connery played his father. It lit up the screen how well they got along. Spielberg said in the future that working with players was the most fun he had ever had. In the same year, Ford began flying planes. He had his first serious accident in 1999 while practicing emergency landings. He and the teacher were in the chopper when it crashed near Lake Piru. He didn't give up after the crashes. His crimes were worse in 2000, 2015, and 2017. Between 2010 and 2020, but he always went back to flying. And he went to Connery's 60th birthday party in 1990, which proved that the friendship they formed on set was real. Harrison Ford didn't just play a brave actor. He put his own life in danger. In 1993, while shooting The Fugitive, he jumped off a huge dam as part of a scene. It would not be possible. Actually, it almost was. 6 dummies, each worth $12,000, were used for the real jump. The dummies' owner was very angry that they were hurt so badly during the shoot. Ford worked hard, but he wasn't happy with just camera tricks. He wouldn't stop standing right on the edge of the real dam. A wire was the only thing holding him back. The water below that dam was only 40 degrees, and it was hundreds of feet high. Navy SEALs were brought in to help, and they said that if anyone did fall into that water, they would only have a 1 in a million chance of surviving. Ford still went out on the water, though. On 2 occasions, he filmed those cold and risky takes himself. It was worth the $2 million it cost to make the scene. It made $183 million around the world, and Ford's lack of fear in real life was a big part of that. When 1997 came around, Ford was 55 years old and still doing things that most younger stars wouldn't even think to do. He wasn't political when he played the President of the United States in Air Force One. He fought attackers himself, jumped through fire, and lived through disasters at 15,000 feet in the air. Attacking jets hit the plane. Fuel is lost. The Caspian Sea is where it ends up. During all of that, Ford kept pulling off his own tricks. He hit people, threw punches, and crawled through that like he was half his age. It made $315.2 million, making it the fifth highest-grossing movie of 1997 and one of the biggest hits of the year. It was up to get 2 Oscars. Even though Titanic won those awards, Air Force One showed that Ford, even in his 50s, still had what it took to be an action star. But Ford didn't just do great things. In the 1992 movie Patriot Games, he played Jack Ryan, a former CIA expert who gets caught up in a dangerous game with terrorists. To prepare for the part, Ford was allowed to visit a real CIA building. A lot of people will never see these secret rooms that he went through. The analysts who worked there even asked him to sign something. After the fact, the director said that the CIA only helped because few of their most sensitive secrets were shown in the movie. Even so, when Ford came to visit, all of the deep cover officers disappeared into hidden rooms when the security lights flashed. It was that important. In the background, though, something was wrong. The book's author, Tom Clancy, didn't want Ford to play the part. His opinion was that Ford was too old. Clancy had thought of Jack Ryan as a younger man, but Ford was 49 years old at the time. Clancy also didn't like some of the changes made to the story, but he changed his mind after seeing the finished movie. We believed him when he said it would work. The movie came out on June 5, 1992, and made $178.1 million around the world. It was the #1 movie in theaters for 2 weeks. In 2002, Harrison Ford made a movie called K-19, The Killer, costing about $100 million to make. It was an underwater thriller. The movie did not do well at the box office, making only about $65 million internationally. Not only was it a failure at the box office, around the same time, things were going badly in his personal life as well. His split from author Melissa Matheson in 2004 was one of the costliest in Hollywood history. There was no prenuptial agreement, so Ford had to pay her $85 million. She didn't just get a piece of what they already had. She also got a piece of what he made in big movies like Indiana Jones, Air Force One, and The Fugitive. Between 2003 and 2006, he gave her $18.5 million in cash and kept giving her fees that added up to at least $30 million more. This was followed by Ford's attempt in 2008 to bring back Indiana Jones, one of his most famous roles. His age was 65 when Kingdom of the Crystal Skull came out. The movie made more than $790 million at the box office, but not many people paid attention to that. As an alternative, they made fun of his age. Some people said he was too old to play a hero. Afterward, Ford said that people were thinking too much about what they thought Indiana Jones should be like and not enough about the story itself. The movie did well at the box office, taking in $100 million in its first weekend, but Ford kept getting jokes about how old he was. The movie didn't do as well as they had hoped, he said. Things did not get better in 2011. Ford was in the movie Cowboys and Aliens, something strange that combines westerns and science fiction. It had a lot of costs, $163 million, but not enough money to be considered a success. It made only $174 million around the world and lost about $80 million. Ford was trying to show that he could still make a hit movie, but people didn't like it. Numerous people blamed the unusual theme and Daniel Craig, who hadn't done well in movies other than James Bond. Something scary happened in 2015. The engine in Ford's old World War II plane broke down right after takeoff on March 5th. He had been alive for 72 years. He could have hit houses or streets, but he meant to hit a golf course. After hitting a tree, he fell to the ground. Both of his ankles and hips were broken. It was cut really bad on his head. While he was playing golf, a doctor ran over and helped him get out of the way. A lot of people wanted to be like him, because he thought quickly and may have saved lives. Had to have surgery and wear metal plates to heal. After only a few months, he went back to flying. What happened to him that same year almost killed him. Someone pushed the wrong button while Ford was shooting The Force Awakens. He was standing in the doorway of the Millennium Falcon. He broke his leg when a heavy hydraulic door slammed down and threw him to the ground. There were broken bones in his leg, so he had to have surgery again when he was 73. The factory was closed for weeks. Ford stated that he did not care about who pressed the button. Strangely, the same ship hurt both Han Solo and Ford. Some bad things happened in Ford's past. Affair with Mary Marquardt, his college love, in 1964. In 1966, Benjamin was born, and in 1969, Willard appeared. Things changed for him when he was 33 and got the part in Star Wars. He began an affair in 1976 while he was shooting with Carrie Fisher, who is 19 years old. She wanted him to remarry. It was a 3-month affair that was kept hidden for almost 40 years, until Fisher told everyone about it in 2016. In 1979, Ford's marriage ended, and he had to deal with both fame and guilt. He also lost his heart in his second marriage. He got married to Melissa Matheson in 1983. She had already written E.T. and the Black Horse. Malcolm was their son, and Georgia was their daughter. Way back in 1990, they kept their relationship secret and seemed stable, but in 2000, they quietly broke up. Ford moved out of their condo in Manhattan. The divorce was completed in 2004 and was one of the most expensive in show business. It had been just over 10 years since the split when Matheson died in 2015. Ford's life changed for the better in 2002. Actress Calista Flockhart spilled wine on him by chance at the Golden Globes. In that moment, a love story began that is still going on. It was 59 degrees, and she was 37. The 22-year age difference made a lot of people wonder if the couple was really together or just trying to get attention. They did, however, adopt her son Liam together. Additionally, Ford said in 2003 that he was truly in love. Over Valentine's Day weekend in 2009, he asked her to marry him. 2010 was the year they got married, while in Santa Fe shooting Cowboys and Aliens. Beyond the pain, the 2015 plane crash brought his family closer together. Calista, Ford's wife, went to the hospital every day while he was there for almost a month. Ben, his son, posted details online and then took them down. Ford hadn't been a good dad for a long time, especially when his business took off in the 1970s and 1980s. He said that he wished he had been around more in conversations. When he was younger, his 1960s-born kids saw him less than Liam, who he raised in his late 1960s. In 2010, Ford said that he thought he would be a better dad the second time around. He told Esquire in 2023 that he would still kill for any of his children, but that flying was still a part of him. Ford did something very bad in 2020 when he was 77 years old. He went beyond a Hawthorne Airport runway, while one more plane touched down. It was only 3,600 feet between the two planes. Ford said sorry over the radio right away, admitting that he didn't understand the orders. The FAA started to look into it. In 2017, only 3 years before, he had also landed on the wrong strip and almost hit a passenger jet. Ford hurt himself again in 2021 while shooting Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. The 78-year-old hurt his shoulder badly while practicing a fight scene at Pinewood Studios in London. The production was weeks behind schedule. Everyone remembered how he hurt his leg when the door to the Millennium Falcon crashed down on him in 2014. Ford worked hard and finished his last Indiana Jones movie, even though things were hard. Within a few days of the Oscars in March 2025, Ford got shingles. He had been 82 years old and couldn't give the speech at the event. The virus was dangerous for someone his age, and the pain was very bad. He stayed home to get better, even though people were worried. He went viral a few weeks before for eating a cracker during an award show speech by a co-star, which was typical of his casual style. At age 83, Ford finally got something he had never gotten before. For his part in the Apple TV Plus show Shrinking, he was nominated for an Emmy. He played therapist Dr. Paul Rhodes, who was in the early stages of Parkinson's. People said that his performance had a lot of heart and honesty. Speaking with Michael J., Fox helped him get ready for the part, which made it seem even more real. His character thought quietly in one scene how much time he still had to work. There were 7 categories where the show was nominated. Today, Ford was fighting not only in movies, but also on TV for the first time. Additionally, he wasn't just holding on. He was amazing.